The short forms of A, E, I, O, and U are easy to read. For example, in trap, dress, kit, cloth, and strut. But a few words like foot have retained another short U. Let's use a Karen for this case. For this purpose, think of a Karen as a stylized U. The following words are written with a short U pronounced U, yielding, for example, put, which doesn't rhyme with strut. On the other hand, many words like brother are written with a short O but pronounced with a strut vowel. Let's use an inverted Karen or an inverted stylized U in this case. Similarly, when a short O is pronounced as a foot vowel, as in wolf, we use the Karen we've seen before in words like put. There is another short vowel that seems to be living two lives, the short A. Before it was pronounced as in trap, it was completely open as the starting point of I. Words like ask have resisted this vowel shift, but they are now pronounced with a long R, yielding ask instead of ask. While northern accents pronounce ask with a trap vowel, yielding ask, they do have an R sound in words like father. Let's use a macron to mark such a monophthong. Since an A at the end of a word is pronounced R, we don't need a macron here. The R sound can also be written as AH, for example in onomatopoeia and interjections like blah and ah. In addition to the monophthong R, there is also the diphthong A. After using a macron for monophthongs like R, let's use a tilde for diphthongs like A in words like base. Both R and A are long vowel sounds, but only the A sound is referred to as long A. As such, it is the pronunciation of the letter A itself. The A sound is often written as AI. At the end of a word, the letter I is replaced by a Y. And finally, a long A can also be written with a silent E, like in face. The monophthong E, the long E, can be seen at the end of some words like me. It is also the pronunciation of the letter E. Also, the E sound is often written as EA in words like dream and tea. As a diphthong, the letter E is pronounced the same as the long A in loan words like forte. The diphthong A is often written as EI or EY at the end of a word. The long E can also be written with a silent E as in theme. The letter I is pronounced E in loan words like machine. The sound E can also be written IE, for example in shield and in the unstressed ending E. The diphthong I is spelled Y at the end of a word. It is called the long I and it is the pronunciation of the letter I. There doesn't seem to be a definite digraph for I, but the spelling IGH is worth mentioning as it is often found in words like sight and sigh. The long I can also be written with a silent E as in price. The letter O is pronounced U in do. Most of the time, however, U is written double O, for example in goose and zoo. Usually, O is pronounced O as in ghost or go. It is the long O, and thus the pronunciation of the letter O. The digraph OA is also often used to denote the O sound, but never at the end of a word. More on that in a minute. The long O can also be written with a silent E as in home. Some words with a double O are pronounced with a short U instead of the long monophthong U. For example, flood with a strut vowel and foot with a vowel as in put. As a monophthong, the letter U is pronounced U, for example, in truth, and U, for example, in the Greek letter mu, where it is at the end of the word. The letter U also has this pronunciation, that is, the long U. The digraph EU has the pronunciation of the long U. It is written EW at the end of a word. The digraph OU is often pronounced with the mouth vowel. At the end of a word it is written OW, for example in now. The long U can also be written with a silent E, as in mute. In French words, OU is pronounced OU, as in soup, but also in the pronoun you, a Germanic word. Note that OU is never written OW. An unstressed OW is pronounced O at the end of a word, but this spelling is also used at the stressed end of a word, where one would have expected OA instead. The diphthong OI is pronounced OI. It is written OY at the end of a word. The digraph AU is pronounced AW. In Germanic words, it is written AW at the end of a word, but also in some other environments. Some OU is pronounced like AU before GH, for example in thought. With this spelling system in mind, we are going to talk about how the etymology is reflected in English spelling in an upcoming video. Until then, thanks for watching.